In the mid-1920s, American agriculture stood at a crossroads. The horse was giving way to the machine, and farmers needed tractors that could do more than just pull plows. They needed machines that could cultivate row crops, handle general farm work, and replace the versatility of their draft animals. International Harvester had found the answer with their Farmall Regular, a highly successful row crop tractor rated for about 13 horsepower, enough to pull a two-bottom plow. It was selling like wildfire. John Deere, despite their success with the Model D, needed a response. What followed was a story of engineering struggle, corporate determination, and the kind of loyalty that would define a brand for generations. This is the story of the John Deere GP. John Deere's first attempt to compete with the Farmall came in 1927 with a tractor they called the Model C. Production began by late August of that year, but from the start, things weren't right. In 1927, just 32 Model C tractors were produced. The following year, 101 were built. But these weren't triumphant numbers. They were the numbers of a company trying desperately to work out the bugs in a troubled design. Many of these tractors would never see a farmer's field as they were originally built. Deere management wasn't satisfied. They knew they couldn't send a flawed product to market. So they made a decision that would cost them time and money, but save their reputation. All 1927 Model C tractors and 9 from 1928 were recalled. The company monitored the remaining tractors closely, documenting every complaint, every problem, every failure. For about 10 months, engineers at Deere worked tirelessly. Changes were made. The design was refined. And when they were finally ready to try again, management made another crucial decision. On June 20, 1928, the Model C became something new. The problem was simple but significant. When dealers phoned in orders to the factory, the telephone systems of the day weren't clear enough to distinguish between C and D. Orders got mixed up. Confusion reigned. Frank Silloway, Deere's sales manager, had heard enough. The improved Model C would get a new name, one that captured its mission and couldn't be confused over a crackling phone line. The tractor was rechristened the GP, standing for General Purpose. In August 1928, the John Deere GP officially entered production. The GP wasn't just one tractor. Over its 7-year production run from 1928 to 1935, it evolved into 5 distinct versions, each attempting to find its place in American agriculture. The standard front GP, built from March 1928 to February 1935, was the workhorse of the line. It featured a wide-arched front axle designed to straddle 3 rows of crops. The tractor was powered by a 2-cylinder engine, initially displacing 312 cubic inches and producing about 10 drawbar horsepower and 20 at the belt. It came with a 3-speed transmission, but the GP had problems. It was heavy, it was underpowered, and despite the changes from the Model C, there were still design issues that plagued the early tractors. In 1930, Deere made significant improvements. The bore was increased to 6 inches, boosting the displacement to 339 cubic inches and the horsepower to 25. They also dropped the water injection system, which many farmers reported caused plugging. Water injection was a common method at the time to reduce pre-detonation and enhance engine performance, but in practice it caused more problems than it solved. The most successful variant came in November 1929, the GP Wide Tread, or GPWT. This was Deere's first true row crop design. With a 76-inch wide footprint, it could straddle rows while giving the operator excellent visibility. From 1929 to 1933, they built 5,103 of these tractors. In 1932, an improved GPWT appeared with a tapered hood that gave operators even better visibility and improved steering. For the first time on a John Deere tractor, the seat was mounted on adjustable cushion springs. Individual rear brakes were added, and the spark and throttle levers were mounted on the steering wheel support, allowing operators to change speeds without changing position. A rare variant deserves special mention. The last 443 WT units featured a major design change. The steering linkage was moved from the side of the tractor to the top of the hood, similar to what would appear on the Model A. These tractors are highly collectible today. Between August 1928 and April 1929, 23 units of a two-wheel tricycle front GP were built. These experimental tractors were part of Deere's continued search for the right design. For specialized markets, Deere created additional variants. The GP-P, modified specifically for potato farmers with narrowed rear tread width, was built between January and August 1930. Only 203 were produced. In April 1931, the GPO, or General Purpose Orchard Tractor, entered production. It featured specialized shielding for working in groves and orchards around low-hanging branches. Extended fenders covered most of the rear wheels. Production continued until April 1935, with 717 built. Some of these were fitted with crawler undercarriages by the Lindemann brothers in Yakima, Washington. These GPO Lindemans, as they're known, represent another fascinating chapter in the GP story. In total, somewhere in the neighborhood of 36,000 to 37,000 GP tractors were built. The standard GP accounted for 30,535 of these. But tracking exact production numbers is tricky because some tractors were recalled, rebuilt, and resold with different options using the same serial numbers. By any objective measure, the GP was not a commercial success. The Farmall Regular was the clear winner in the marketplace. The GP remained heavy and underpowered compared to its competition. Design issues continued to surface throughout its production run. Charles Wyman, who served as CEO of John Deere during this period, was openly critical of how the company had handled the GP's design and development. He considered it one of his biggest failures as a leader. But was it really a failure? The company learned from its mistakes. They kept working tirelessly to fix the issues and make a better machine. They didn't give up when the Model C faltered. They didn't abandon farmers who had bought the early GPs. They kept refining, improving, and pushing forward. The lessons learned from the GP's struggles would directly inform the development of the Model A, which launched in April 1934 and finally gave Deere a true competitor to the Farmall line. The story of the GP cannot be separated from the era in which it was built. The late 1920s and early 1930s were some of the darkest years in American economic history. Between 1930 and 1932, John Deere's sales plummeted over 85%. It was a catastrophic decline. The company was forced to make major cuts and huge layoffs. It was a horrible time to be in business. But in these darkest hours, John Deere and Company made decisions that would echo through generations. The company maintained tremendous loyalty to their employees. They continued to pay 5% interest on employee savings accounts. They kept group insurance policies active for laid-off workers, even though those workers were no longer generating revenue for the company. Then came a crisis that tested the company's values like nothing before. The People's Bank of Moline was where Deere kept its accounts. Many of their employees banked there as well. In 1930 or 1931, that bank found itself on the brink of collapse due to an internal embezzlement scheme. On the day the bank was supposed to close, CEO Charles Wyman brought the board of directors together. He made a motion that would commit the company to an extraordinary act. He stated, "If we do not do this, the bank closes. As I view it, there are approximately $7 million of savings deposits in this bank, largely made by the wage earners of our factories, and the effects upon them of closing the bank and the resulting consequences to this company are beyond calculation." That very day, Deere cut a check to the bank for $1.29 million to cover the losses. They saved the bank. They saved the deposits of their employees. In an era of corporate ruthlessness, it was an almost unprecedented act of responsibility. But Deere wasn't done. In 1931 alone, the company assumed $12 million in farmer loans for equipment. For some farmers, Deere was the only institution that would extend credit. It was a tremendous show of faith toward their customers during America's darkest economic hour. Then came perhaps the most remarkable decision of all. Deere extended the terms on all of its loans to farmers. For every piece of machinery that cost more than $200, they extended the payment terms to a full 3 years. This economic relief helped literally thousands of farmers keep their equipment. For many, it was the difference between keeping their land and losing it. Why did Deere do all of this? They knew that at the end of the day, they were forming a bond with their customers that went far beyond a simple business transaction. Deere's actions expressed faith in the farmer and helped preserve the farmer's dignity during a time when dignity was in short supply. Farmers take immense pride in their occupation. Deere's faith in them during the Great Depression was enough to turn red blood into green. The John Deere GP was not the sales success the company hoped for. It was heavy, underpowered, and plagued with problems. Charles Wyman considered it one of his greatest failures, but perhaps failure is too harsh a word. The GP taught Deere how to build row crop tractors. The lessons learned led directly to the Model A and Model B, tractors that would establish Deere as a dominant force in American agriculture for decades to come. More importantly, the era of the GP revealed the character of a company. John Deere could have abandoned the troubled tractor after the Model C debacle. They could have walked away from their employees during the Depression. They could have called in loans when farmers couldn't pay. Instead, they persevered. They improved. They stood by their people. Today, approximately 36,000 GP tractors were built over 7 years. They're not the most celebrated tractors in Deere's history, but they represent something profound. A company's commitment to getting it right, no matter how long it took, and to standing by the people who depended on them, no matter the cost. The foundation of John Deere's legendary customer loyalty wasn't built on perfect products. It was built on perfect commitment. The GP, with all its flaws and struggles, stands as a testament to that commitment. And that's a fascinating story worth remembering.